Before we begin, this episode does contain conversation around suicide and mental health issues, and therefore listener discretion is advised. If you are working in the construction industry or know of someone who is and is suffering with mental health issues, the EIC helpline is open from 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, and the team can be called on 0800 652 1618. Alternatively, you can send an email to support@electricalcharity.org at any time. And now, on with the show. Kate Adamczyk, thanks for coming out to see us. Really appreciate you taking the time.
No problem. Really happy to be here.
Good. Well, a difficult subject, so straight into it.
Yeah.
How many people die by suicide in construction each year?
So we don't have an exact number, but what we do know is that suicide is the biggest cause of death for men under 35. We know that 4 out of 5 suicides are done by men. And if you work in the construction industry, in 2020, the research showed that you are 3.7 times more likely to die by suicide. So it's a huge thing in the construction and in our industry. Yeah,
I mean, what do you think just specifically in construction, what do you think are the main causes and the numbers that you see at the EIC? Mm-hmm. How likely do you think those numbers are to rise?
So I guess two questions there, but
yeah.
I think some of the causes around it is obviously, particularly in the electrical industry, it's a very male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
I think it's something around 85% of our industry is male, and as you go more senior, that increases. Mm-hmm. And we know that suicide affects men more than it does women. So I think that's an element. It's a very high-pressured environment, our industry. There's long hours, there's tight contracts for people to do. Yeah. There's a lot of time away from home and from loved ones. And there is that pressure either of managing budgets or running your own business. So it's kind of all on you.
Yeah.
So there's reasons behind it. And also, as an industry, we're not great about talking about these kind of things. So there'll be people suffering in silence, not feeling able to talk about these things. And do we see it rising? I mean, I can't give you, a yes or no, but I think unless we do address some of the mental health issues that we're seeing in our industry, then yes, it will continue to be an issue, and the likelihood is that death by suicide will rise.
Yeah, it's not good at all. I mean, it seems to be, I know we're in Mental Health Month now.
Yes.
Which is obviously a good thing, but it's a shame that we need a dedicated month. I know what we were talking before, and there's undoubtedly going to be people that when they're broached with this or approached with this subject or exposed to this subject, there might be that inclination to not treat it with the level of I'll say, respect or severity or seriousness that perhaps it deserves. And I know that there's always going to be people that take advantage of any situation.
Yes.
But really, from what we were talking about beforehand, and I think we can probably all attest to it, it's, in terms of trying to find a solution, is the first, I say quick win. But is it just knowing that within our industry and the business, the company that you work for, you can have a conversation?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that we can do as an industry to help kind of mental health and to raise the awareness of it and make people feel more comfortable. I mean, there is a lot of people that don't feel comfortable disclosing to their employer that they have got mental health challenges, and that's just a fact. And I think as an industry, we need to create more of those safe spaces.
Yeah.
It needs to be a conversation that's not shied away from. And I think a lot of the times people maybe do shy away from it because they don't know what to say or they don't know how to handle it, which is perfectly okay. That's what we're there for, the charity.
Yeah.
Even if people in our industry are just telling others that we exist, just checking in. If you see something that maybe someone's a bit off or they might be struggling a bit. If the only thing you do is tell them about the EIC, that's a step forward. But businesses and employers in our industry have to start taking mental health seriously. And we've definitely seen a shift in the last 12 to 18 months around that, and companies are really taking it seriously. Things like they've got wellbeing programs, and they've got people in the business that people can go to and talk to. So there's definitely been a change, and we're going in the right direction. But we need to do more, and we just need to create those safe environments and take it seriously.
Okay. And where do you think? Because again, as you've said, our industry is very male dominated, and certainly even more so as you get as you get into the old guard, if you like.
Yeah.
How much of this can we put into pull yourself up by your bootstraps and away you go? And I know that I personally think there's an element to that in there.
Yeah.
And I'm not speaking on behalf of Metpro, and I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah.
I do think there's a societal push to be a victim, which I don't think helps people, because I do believe that people start to go on that downward spiral almost because that's the trendy thing to do.
Yes.
And I don't like that. But I also, at the same time, having experienced some stuff myself with mental health, that you do need to reach out and have the conversation. So how can we? I mean, in terms of demographics within construction, is it the younger males that are suffering the most?
So we've definitely seen an increase in kind of our young people in the industry and apprentices coming for us for help.
Right.
And suffering from that. And I think, that's an element of the world that we live in now. And we've all gone through the COVID pandemic and the cost of living crisis, and that hits, particularly the cost of living crisis hits our younger people and apprentices more so.
Yeah.
They're the lowest paid people, right? So we've definitely seen an increase in that. But also, we see a lot come through from people that have retired. So, that in our industry, it's kind of like once you're in, you're in.
Yeah.
If you stay for 2 years, then you're in.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's true.
So there's a lot of people that have worked in the industry for, over 30 years, and it is long hours and it is away from home, etc. And then all of a sudden they're retired, and it's like, oh, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Right? And I think in some ways it can be more challenging for that demographic, because they are a bit from the old guard, and and it is very much just pull your socks up and get on with it, right? And don't talk about mental health, or don't show vulnerability, etc.
Yeah.
So I think there's kind of two elements. Of course, there's all the in between. And as you said, yes, I appreciate what you're saying about kind of sometimes there's this element of maybe taking advantage of what's happening in the world now, but we still need to take it seriously.
Oh, 100%.
And, and I think it is just about that reaching out. And for different people, it will be different ways of doing that. And it will be, some people might feel comfortable talking to their family or friends about these things. Some people might feel comfortable talking to colleagues, but a lot of people won't, right?
Yeah,
and you need that independent thing. Sometimes it's easier to talk to someone that doesn't know you, right?
Yeah.
And doesn't know anything about you, to give you that neutral opinion, if you like. So I think we'll say it a lot throughout this, but it's about talking and it's about reaching out, and particularly on the demographic of like the young people, we know that in our industry there's a huge problem attracting people into this industry.
Yeah, I know.
It's not seen as sexy or glamorous or anything like that.
No.
There's a huge problem. So not only younger people, but more diversity and more women into the industry and all of those things. And unless we catch up with the rest of the world from a mental health perspective, yes, we're a slightly old-fashioned industry, but unless we catch up with them, we're never going to attract and nurture and keep those people. And we're always going to have these challenges around mental health.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I think, out in the wider context outside of just construction, when you see how much things like social media dominate everyday life now, my outlook isn't great on mental health. I do see it just continually getting worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the more that we can do now and have just really blunt, honest, open conversations, it's only going to have a positive impact. But what you said there is kind of brought me nicely into the next question, and we've kind of touched on it a little bit already. Yeah. But do you think we do enough as an industry regarding mental health?
No.
Okay.
is the short answer. So, again, we talk a lot in the charity about, as an industry, we're not great at reaching out when we need help, and some people don't really know what's wrong with them. They know that something's not right, but they don't really know what's wrong with them, right? And that's where talking to someone, whether that's the charity or whether that's a peer or whatever that is, that can really help to actually acknowledge that I'm okay to feel like this, and actually there is something and I need some help, right?
Yeah.
I think, again, it's men aren't great at doing this.
I know.
And, we should be encouraging people to talk and to tell their stories. So, if there are people, and there's some people that are very open about their mental health and will openly share their experience, and then there's others that don't, and it's completely personal choice, right? But as an industry, we need to take it seriously. We need to create those safe spaces for people and educate yourself. So there's a huge push from us at the charity, and one thing that we really kind of advocate for is this prevention to help people before they get to crisis point. And the only way we do that is through education and understanding. So we do lots of different training and lots of resources for people to help with that, and our mission, if you like, is to engage the businesses, the manufacturers, the wholesalers, the contractors, all of those people, engage with them to make them more aware of the mental health issues that are going on and what's available, and to educate themselves, and at least to have a program within their business.
Okay.
I mean, wouldn't it be great if our industry committed to the fact that everyone's going to have a wellbeing program and and really drive that through? That would be amazing.
Yeah, because again, what I was saying before we started recording was, I think where people are perhaps unaccustomed or don't quite understand the mental health crisis as much as and I would suggest that it is probably the older generation, right? That's where the disparity probably is, just because times were different. But I think there's this concern that it's gonna, if we go down this route as a business, just generally, the work that's going to the workload that's going to add on, what we're going to have to commit to it is going to be massive. But I mean, an initial one for me would just be have there's a direct point of contact or something like that. There's a bit of a process where people know that they can talk to that person.
Exactly. And a lot of business have mental health first aiders within their business, or wellbeing champions, or things like that. Now, I appreciate that not everyone can do that, and there's different sizes of businesses within the industry. But even if you just start somewhere, even if you put posters up about the EIC in the staff rooms, or anything like that, just commit to it. And your point around that concern about it's going to take time, it's going to cost more, I guess it's about looking at the bigger picture, isn't it, and the long-term view. Because if you're not looking after your employee well-being, that's going to have a detrimental effect on your business eventually. Less true. Productivity, morale down, more sick days, all of those kind of things. So I guess it's just trying to kind of step back and look at the bigger picture and appreciate that yes, although you can't see it on the bottom line necessarily, it needs to be part of your overall strategy.
Yeah, I think we can actually, in terms of facts, we've got a little bit on that. So that there was an NHS report. I'm hoping I'm correct. I believe it was released this year, and in there it stated that there's approximately £300 billion. This is England only.
Yeah,
£300 billion in losses due to mental health, with the split being 130 billion is human cost, 110 is economic, and then 60 is health and care.
Yeah.
So you're quite right. There's not just a human issue, but there is also an impact on, like you say, on that bottom line that you might not see, but it is there.
It's there, and I think there's so many different things available now, kind of EAPs, like employee assistance programs, those kind of things, which a lot of the businesses in our industry have already. But I think that's probably, and of course I'm going to say this, right, because I work for the charity, but it is a huge advantage to the electrical and energy industry to have a charity that's dedicated to them.
Absolutely.
So there's not many other industries where you have that, and you could almost see us as a free EAP.
Yeah.
And businesses are paying for that, and rightly so, but we can do that for free.
Yeah.
Everything that we do is free and confidential. Obviously, we rely on fundraising, and we can talk a bit more about that, but,
it's specialised as well, right?
It's specialised. Like, we understand the challenges of the industry.
Yeah.
The charity's been around for over 100 years.
Right.
It's kind of evolved and grown with the industry, and we want to make sure that we evolve and grow with the industry for the next 100 years,
Good.
But it's this like wonderful resource that is available in our industry, and people need to be aware of it more and use it more, and we can help with all of that, education and training and understanding, etc.
Okay. Well, you said that you've been that you're trying to you speak with manufacturers, wholesalers. I don't know if you speak to contractors as well.
We're trying to speak to more contractors.
Okay, good. So how's that? What's the impact? Are you seeing positive uptake?
Yeah, like our industry is wonderful in that it's very supportive of the charity. It's very generous, and I think, as I said previously, in the past 12 to 18 months, we've definitely seen a shift in people really caring and really taking seriously employee well-being.
Yeah.
Of course, there are areas where there's lower awareness of us and not as much engagement. So one of them is in contractors and installers. So we're doing a lot of work around that to try and get more into that area. And our fundamental is, our first thing is always raise awareness so that people know there is support there for them. So anyone that needs us knows that we're here, right? That is our first thing. And then it's about, so how do we then start to educate and train and partner with people and businesses to really help with that employee well-being? And then it's about the fundraising and making sure that we can still do that and be around for the next 100 years. Okay.
If you don't mind, I want to bring back some of the stats that we've overlooked, because I know that we started by talking about death by suicide, which is obviously the ultimate price to pay, and is the worst possible outcome. But there were a couple of things that I picked up on from a couple of I believe Mates in Mind are a charity as well. Yeah. And a couple of their stats were that 48% of people in the industry have taken time off due to stress. 91% have felt overwhelmed with workload, and then 26% have experienced suicidal thoughts. And I don't know. I'm a massive advocate of talking. I think that's one of the best things you can do. Yeah. But is there anything else that through your work that's come up that people can go, oh, maybe I'll consider that, or I'll consider that? Yeah,
I mean, it's all the things that we've heard and things. So, obviously emotional well-being and physical well-being, they're so closely linked, right? That, like, look after yourself more and be a bit selfish and
invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself, right? So go out and walk and do some exercise.
Listen to the right stuff, read the right stuff.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Exactly. If you're putting positive things in, that's going to have an impact. Like eat well, like all of these things make such a difference.
They do.
To people. And, we have each month, so we've got two things that people can use to try and help them with that side of things. So we have a health calendar, where every month it's a different topic. And that could be financial well-being, it could be physical health, it could be mental health, like all these different topics. We have lots of different resources, hints and tips, different things that you can read about all of those topics. And then as part of the health calendar, we have a wellbeing talk every month, which is free. Anyone can sign up to. You just have to kind of go online, sign up to them. And they're the first Wednesday of every month between 8:30 and 9:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And again, so we have experts on there. We have inspirational speakers telling their stories. We've had kind of Paralympians on there that tell us their journey and how physical exercise has like really helped them with their mental health.
Yeah.
We have people talking about resilience and how you can build that.
Yeah.
And then we have more practical things like family law and how do you navigate family law, right? So I would encourage anyone listening to this to sign up to those wellbeing talks because they're really good. And we tend to, so when we look at what we're going to cover for the year, we'll look at what are we seeing.
Right, okay.
So what are the issues that are coming up? We saw that apprentices are reaching out for help more. So we did a month around that and that kind of thing. So I would definitely encourage people to do that. And also, I think as well, ultimately you're responsible for your own mental health.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you need to, as we've said, look after yourself and put boundaries in place as well. So, if you're not comfortable with something or if you need to change something in order to help your mental health, then that's down to you to do that. And I guess there's so many things that we could talk about around this, right? But the key thing is taking control of your own mental health, which I know is sometimes very, very difficult, right? Yeah. But there's a lot of things that you can do to help that, and then there's a safety net there for you as well.
I think that's a good point because talking, great, and again I'll say it again, I'm a massive advocate of talking. I think it's certainly it's a foundation.
Yes.
Right. That's what it's like a baseline is what you need. But I think it was David Goggins. I'm not sure if you're familiar with David Goggins.
Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. He's an absolute legend, that guy. And one of the things that I heard him say before was, you might have people around you, but for 24 hours every single day, it's you in your own head.
Yeah.
You're always in there on your own, and that can be your worst enemy or your greatest asset.
Yeah.
So I think one of the big challenges with mental health is there isn't a silver bullet.
No.
But I'm really glad that you've said that it's ultimately down to you, because it is, and it's a multitude of things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You've got to find ways of enjoying the work day. How you go about that, don't know. For me personally, it was I'm gonna try and have fun every single day.
Yeah.
And then outside of work, it's what do you enjoy doing? Put all your energy into that.
Yeah.
What do you find fulfilling? And
it's a very personal thing, isn't it? And every individual will be different. And what I'm not saying is that just get on with it and sort your own mental health out. I'm not saying that. I think it's a lot around, we talk about this prevention and before you get to that point, right?
Yeah.
And there is a lot that you can do in that prevention stage. Educate yourself, make sure you're physically well.
Yeah.
Make sure you're eating well. Make sure, people talk about mindfulness a lot, right? And for some people that's great. For some people it's just not a thing for them. But there might be things, as you say, I don't know, maybe you like to play darts. Go and play darts for a bit,
Exactly.
You can do all of these things, and for some people regular counselling just as a standard really helps them. That really works for them. For
it's
others,
so subjective.
It's so subjective. I guess the thing is it's do all that you can to to look after yourself and prioritize yourself and invest in yourself. And if you need a helping hand, it's there.
Yep. Yeah, and do not be scared to talk. There's always somebody who will listen to you.
There's always someone. And as well, I think what's really interesting is that once you see it a lot, once someone starts to open up, it's amazing how many other people go, oh yeah, I've had that, or I felt that. And you have these shared experiences,
Absolutely.
And that's why, we have lots of our cases that we help, they're amazing people, and they are willing to stand up and share their experiences because they just want to kind of pay it forward, and say it's all right to feel like that. I went through that as well.
I think there's probably if you're the kind of person who can talk openly about the experience that you've gone through in respect of mental health, I would suggest that you're walking proof that you can. I don't say get over it because it can be it can be a constant that you can manage.
Yeah.
But you've certainly grown and evolved and become stronger.
Yeah.
Resilience, that's the word.
Yeah.
That's the key.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And then how can, and again, you have touched on quite a few things, but what are the real quick ways that people can get more involved with the EIC and other industry charities and get on the track to wellbeing?
Yeah. So I guess I should talk a little bit about how do you actually contact the charity and how does it work, right?
Yep.
So we have a helpline, phone number and email address. That's open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Obviously, you can send an email at any time, right? But the helpline is open then. And we've got an amazing welfare team that is led by Grace, and she's been with the charity for a few years now. She's very, very experienced, and our welfare team are incredible. There's 4 of them in total. So anything that comes through to us will be allocated to one of our case managers, and they will look after you all the way through. So you'll have the same person. We do a lot of advocating for people. So we work with lots of other charities. We work with lots of other kind of associations and partners and things like that. So it's almost like you can see us as your first port of call. Even if you're not sure if we can help, right? Just contact us. Because invariably, if we can't, we can direct you to someone or an organisation that can.
Exactly. You're on the path.
The path. So we cover all sorts. A lot of mental health support. The majority of our cases encompass some form of mental health support. We do things like emergency financial aid, bereavement counselling, legal advice, a whole range of things, which is sometimes quite hard because as a charities tend to focus in on one specific thing, like a cancer charity or a mental health charity, or those different things. But because we're an industry charity, we have a huge breadth of different support services, and that's where working with partners and other organisations means that we can kind of be that first port of call for you. And then in terms of other ways, I've mentioned it that we rely on fundraising. In fact, so in our last financial year, we gave back 1.39 million to the industry.
Right, okay.
Which we're, super proud of, and we want to be able to keep doing that. And there's so many ways that people can get involved. So we have regional committees that help us put our events on up and down the country, who are made up of an amazing group of volunteers from the industry, all across the industry. So you can get involved with the regional committees. We put events on, so we have national events and we have regional events up and down the country. They can be golf days. Our industry loves a golf day. They can be golf days. We do balls, we do lunches, we do dinners. We're trying some new things this year as well, like the Yorkshire Three Peaks Challenge, for example. And then we have something called Challenge for a Cause, which is, I'm really passionate about this because this is how I got involved with the charity in the first place. So I've worked in the industry for about 6-7 years now, for a wholesaler previously. And in 2019, I signed up to be one of their fundraisers on a Challenge for a Cause. And it was Everest Base Camp, which was incredible. One of the hardest things I've ever done, but one of the best things I've ever done. And since then, I got more involved in the charity and, on a volunteering basis, etc. And then the job came up, and here I am 2 years later at the charity. But for me, those challenges are, yes, they raise a huge amount of money for us, which is phenomenal, but they're also so life enhancing for the people that do them. You know, I can honestly say that doing that challenge changed my life and changed the direction of what I wanted for the better. So they're massively beneficial for the participants that do them. So we always have places in the London Marathon, for example. We've just had 6 runners who all completed it and did amazing.
Excellent.
We have got a London to Brighton bike ride this year, and we've got Kilimanjaro. And so we have 3 a year, basically, and they're also great for like team building if you wanted to put a team in. So we have things like that as well. Of course, you can just do fundraising for us, and we can support you with all of that. We've got lots of different material and toolkits that people can use, corporate donations, educational partnerships. I could go on and on and on. But, you know, we do rely on fundraising. We have, I would say the majority comes from our events that we do. So please support them, attend them, sponsor them. But also we have something called the Power Lottery, which is exactly what you think, right? It's £1 each month minimum. And you could £12 for the whole year, and it's 30 cash prizes every month.
Right, okay.
And a nice grand prize of £10,000 once a year.
Not too shabby at all.
Yeah, and 2 £5,000 ones. So yeah, there's lots people can do. I would just ask everyone to look at our website, make yourself aware, advocate for us, and spread the word.
Fab. Well, we'll of course put links and stuff
amazing.
in the show notes, not a problem. And I know that that's like a natural point for us to start wrapping up, but I did want to ask one more question. I wanted to come back to the Apprentices piece.
Yes.
You have to forgive me. You said you're getting a lot of calls from apprentices.
Yeah.
I'm curious to understand why that is. What is it about apprentices?
So, and I'm glad you brought this up, because actually we've done something in response to this, which I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
So I think, as I mentioned earlier, because financially it's very tough for apprentices in our industry. So I think that's having a huge impact on them in terms of the cost of living.
Okay.
And that's why we're starting to see more and more come through. I think, you know, we have people that have come through that are, you know, maybe the main carer in the household.
Right.
Really tough for them. Really tough. This like potentially 16-year-old person carrying that on their shoulders and trying to navigate their way through their apprenticeship to give them a future. And I think, you know, traditionally apprentices kind of were the butt of all jokes, right, on site and things like that. And whilst of course there's always banter, etc., like some of it's not okay. And because the world's moved on and it's not okay, but maybe some of our more old-fashioned sites or, you know, haven't quite caught up, like those things are still happening.
I think, you've got to, there's definitely an element of being careful a bit. I mean, no one's trying to stifle what you want to say.
No.
I don't agree with that at all.
No.
Say what you want, but there is that, you can tip from banter to bully, right? Yeah.
And do you know, so we did a whole Wellbeing talk on banter versus bullying as well. So yeah, I think there's lots of different elements with apprentices coming through. I mean, maybe some of it is just that they're more willing to talk about it. But what we've done in response is we have recently launched brand new mental health training specifically for apprentices.
Great.
So it's part of we've launched a whole new suite of mental health awareness training that is all virtual access via an online portal. You can do it on your mobile phone. There's things like mental health awareness, stress awareness, those kind of topics. And then there's also this specific mental health awareness training for apprentices that is free to any apprentice in our industry.
Brilliant.
So we're really trying to push that, and it's made up of like 15 bite-sized modules. It covers banter versus bullying, things like homelessness, relationship issues. It does, you know, there is one around suicide, caring, being the main carer, so many different issues and topics. And yeah, they can do it on their mobile phones. They're all based on real life case studies that we've seen. And you kind of get to hear the story of the case, and then, you know, knowledge checks and things like that. So yeah, help us spread that far and wide, that any apprentice in our industry, please sign up and do this training.
Excellent.
Because it will really help.
Okay. And what would be your, this is sorry, I'm checking this question in before we move on to the wrap-ups, but if you were to give one piece of advice to anybody who's suffering with mental health issues, what would it be?
You've thrown that one in.
I know. Apologies. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm thinking, is it Kate or is it the charity? But I guess it's one and the same, right? So my one piece of advice would be, you're not on your own.
Mm-hmm.
There is always someone that can help.
Yeah.
And that might be the charity, it might not, right? But I guess just please don't sit there and suffer in silence and think that there's no one out there to help. Like there is.
Yeah.
There is.
Okay. Great. I mean, I'm obviously not as well versed as you, but I'm a human being.
Yes.
So
what's yours?
Purely from my perspective, it's read. I think, I mean, I work in marketing, you know, social media is a big part of what we do.
Yeah. And it's so hard nowadays for young people with social media.
Exactly. It's they're designed to addict you. You can go down a rabbit hole of fabrications and think that your life is meaningless and you're never going to achieve what these people are, or whatever you're watching these people are doing. And invariably it's not true. Yeah. So I would always say, put the phone down, read, listen to a podcast, whatever.
Digital detox.
Yeah, massively.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and you know, I guess from a personal point of view, I'm a huge believer in physical activity.
Oh yeah, get the endorphins going.
100%, and that doesn't have to be like killing yourself in the gym every night. It could just be going for a walk round the block, or get out in nature and just breathe. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay. I think that wraps up the more mental health side of things. So we'll just move on to the final two questions, that's okay. And the first one being, what do you think are the greatest opportunities for wholesalers in our industry? Or for the industry
in general?
The wider industry.
So I think, I mean, and I know we talked about this before, like a lot of people, there is this huge opportunity in renewables and in solar and EV and all of that, and you know, that kind of harps back to my wholesaler days. But for me, I think there is this massive opportunity for us as an industry to really sell ourselves. And to, you know, it is a good industry. It is. I've been in it 6-7 years now, and as a woman, sometimes it's been tough in this industry. But I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere.
Smiling.
And I'm smiling. But you know, I think sometimes we do underestimate, like, it is a very good industry for people to get into, and it's a good career. So for me, the opportunity is, how do we sell that? How do we sell ourselves? And how do we attract those young people in? The more diversity and, you know, and of course I'm going to say, embrace mental health.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, I think you're quite right. And it goes, I can't talk about this without mentioning you know, retiree living in the States now, Tony Howard.
Lovely Tony Howard.
Yeah, but that whole, it keeps coming back to that notion of we don't give ourselves
enough credit.
Absolutely none. And it's so important, you know, particularly on you look at what we create now in construction. We're the backbone of the country, and we should be proud of that. And I think being more positive about ourselves generally will do wonders.
And nurturing our young people and you know, new talent into the industry.
Absolutely.
Let's keep them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, final question then.
Yeah.
How do you think we can work better as an industry throughout the supply chain?
For me, it's about more just be transparent.
Okay.
You know, be transparent, be open. Obviously, not with your cost prices.
Yeah,
I know we talked about that, not that. But yeah, just talk more and pull together as an industry.
Agreed. Fab. Okay, well, Kate, I know you've given us how people can get in touch. Is there any way for people to get in touch with you directly if they want to reach out?
Yeah, can we put my details?
Of course
on?
we can.
Yeah,
Yep.
so you can contact me by email and we'll have that on there. But, you know, if you want to check out the charity, it's electricalcharity.org.
Cool.
Have a look on there. All of our contact details are on there as well. Yeah, and if anyone wants to reach out, I'd be delighted to talk to people.
Fab. Well, again, we'll put your details in. We'll put all the details, all the links to the charity.
Amazing.
We'll also put the references in for the stats.
Follow us on social media. That would be great.
We'll also link you to those as well.
Amazing.
But yeah, really interesting. Horrible subject, like we said, but hopefully more conversations like this. Destigmatise. Everybody be happier.
Exactly.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been brilliant.
Okay.
Thanks.